And welcome to the Audiophile Barista. Today is all about cable management, but this video comes with a warning. It is long and geeky, so if you are into it, let's go. So apparently everything needs power. So I have all my source equipment over there, even though the record player is still over there, but I want to have that at some point back up there. The preamp is now connected to a power socket that is right over there, which is not filtered. Everything is filtered through the PS Audio regenerator, meaning all the sources are filtered. And I would like to have the ear preamplifier back on the regenerator again. The Zen also gets its power from the same socket. This is a dedicated line, just like the regenerator is put on a dedicated line. And then I have a music server over there, and I have the REL subwoofer over there. Now I used to have a very long cable going from there to the regenerator, but I have too many pieces of equipment and only 5 inlets for outlets for the PS Audio regenerator. So I'm going to have to change some things. So one thing that I did is behind there, I will show you later, is another PS Audio, a Quintet, which is a filtered power outlet for 5 Quintet 5 outputs, and I am putting the REL on there. I'm putting the music server on there, and as you can see, there's always a lot of guests here. And what I have to do now, when there is a guest in the system, I have to change the power outlet over there, decoupling the preamp, decoupling the power amp, making sure the phase is correct. Sometimes I have to change the phase, and I don't want that. I want my main system to be just connected in a way that I don't have to change anything and still have enough outlets to power any guests that are coming along. So that's what the Quintet is going to be for. So let's get into it. So over here in the corner you see the outlets from the dedicated power line, and it has 2 outlets. The rear one is going to this power brick over here, which is now connected to the preamp and the power amp, and the other one is going to the PS Audio regenerator. Now the preamp is connected to this one, and I want to have it back on this one, but I do not have enough outlets over there. All these 5 are filled up. So here's what I'm thinking. Over here you see a power socket which is connected to the PS Audio. So these are all filtered, but I only have these wall warts in there. So I think I'm going to take that one out, put it in there. Now every time you put something that is connected to your main system into another power line that is not the same line, you introduce the chance of getting hum. So I'm going to have to try out if this works. And if it works, I have freed up one socket on the PS Audio, giving me room to connect the ear Yoshino also to the PS Audio. So that's one thing. Another thing is that I do not have the long power cable from there to the subwoofer anymore. I now have this one connected to this PS Audio 5 outlet filtered. Now this one also needs power, of course, so there's a power cord going there, but as you can see, the curtains are backed up this way because this power cable comes, this one over here, comes straight out of the wall and goes straight into the room, making it more difficult for the curtains to lay flat against the wall. So what I did, I picked up one of these and created a cable that will lay flat against the wall. Now the other side, this one is too long still, so I have to shorten it and use that Finalizing power connector for it. And I am using, let's see if I can show this. Here we go. Yeah. So this is the Olflex FD891. It says over here, get a good picture for you, 3G4. Now the first number is always the amount of conductors in here. So there's 3, live, neutral and earth. And then there is the last number is always the thickness of the individual conductors. So that's 4 millimeters. So 3 times 4 millimeters is a lot. So that is why I am using that one over here. This will always have the power amp connected, whatever power amp it's going to be. It's going to be unfiltered, connected over here. So this is more than thick enough to provide any power amp with power. And I'm going to use the same gauge, the same cable for this one. Progress report. So I did finish the cable that is going from, can you see it? Yes, there on the wall. It goes flat to the floor. Now the curtains can hang straight as they should be. You see the cable over there running to the PS Audio Quintet. Another thing that I did when you connect your connectors is often when you have a stiff cable, you want to put it into the socket and you may have to twist it because it is not lined up correctly. So what I did do while creating this cable, I noticed how is this thing running, making sure that the connector lines up perfectly with the inputs of the quintet, so I won't have to twist the cable. Okay, so when I made the cable coming from the wall to the quintet, I was right back here and I noticed that I have the, let me see if I can film that for you. This is the music server. They have these thin lines and then a wall wart, and often the cable that goes in here is much longer than what you actually need. And if we look now, as you can see, it should be only from here to there would be enough. So I'm going to create a cable for that also. That makes it possible to remove this long cable. So that's up next. The next thing that has been bothering me. So over here we have this power bar, and as you can see, this cable is much too long. That's why it's in a big loop, and the reason for that is because some time ago when I still had my 2 mono amps, I was having it right behind there in the middle. Now what I did, I placed this power bar right behind this cabinet in order to take away the visual of when you're sitting here, you don't want to see cables everywhere. So I'm using this one and this thing in order to hide the cables a little bit. So the quintet is already there. Now this one will go right behind it, and I'm going to make sure that this cable is fitting it, and again without the need to twist the cable. Okay, so what I did, this is about the second cable that goes there. What I did is I ran it straight aligned to the wall. You can see there it goes here, and if I place this one right in front of the cabinet over here, as you can see, I would have to cut there, meaning this would be just a little piece that I have left over. Normally I don't do that because, well, what can I do with a short piece like that? But as I just told you, this would be perfect to have the connection from here to there. So putting this on there, so I know where to cut later on. Okay, so changing these cables, putting on new connectors is always a fiddly work, but over here you can see this connector is now reconnected. It was on the short piece that you just saw. This is now a perfect fit, no more loops laying around here. And as you can see in this corner, there are a lot of power cables and a lot of signal cables running through this corner. So in order to keep them as far away as possible, I am using these glass jars, another one in the corner over there, just to prop up these heavy power cables. I am looking for a more elegant solution for this. A friend of mine has a 3D printer and I'm trying to figure out what would be a more elegant and useful design to have these kind of things to separate cables from each other. And I'm looking for a design that I can change in height, because every time I change the setup there will be different height requirements. Sometimes I'm using these wooden blocks just like this, but they fall over all the time as soon as you touch a cable, and this works much better, but well, this is not the most elegant solution. So another step done. Let's have a look at that. It's getting from there to there, and as you can see, a little cable perfectly matched for the music server. So as I'm changing things, I also run into things that I think, well, maybe I have another solution for that. Over here we have the rel subwoofer, and I realized I still had a short piece of either power cable, which is 3 times 5 square centimeters conductors in there. So I use these for all the power hungry pieces of equipment, like for example this rel. So this either is now connected to the subwoofer, and before that, if we move to this side, before that this cable was on there, and this is a Furutech. Let's see if I can give you the number. This is the FP314AG. This is copper with silver, and that might give it a little bit more of a bite. And the reason that I want that is not because of the preamplifier, but because of, and I have not showed you this one, you can all see what it is. Until now, not really impressed with the Denafrips, and one of the things is I'm missing a little bit of a bite. It sounds a bit soft. So I'm experimenting, and first thing, as I have this Furutech came free from the subwoofer, I'm now using it on the preamplifier. Okay, so some time has passed, because creating these new power cables, putting on all the connectors, taking off all the connectors, it always takes more time than you think. But anyways, the rel subwoofer now has a OIAIDE power cable, which is, I think, a better option than what I had before. The media server now has a very short cable, creating much less cable spaghetti behind the rack. The Zen still has the same too long OIAIDE cable. The Furutech is now on the preamplifier, and this all stayed the same. I put in even more of these glass containers, making sure that these power cables, the power cable and the signal cables are as far away from each other as possible. I do have the Furotech for the preamplifier. I did say I was going to connect the preamp to the PS audio. Let's turn that one back on the PS audio, but before I do that I want to see if this cable is going to create hum because it is on another power line. So if that does not create any extra hum, I'm going to remove this cable. Make sure to connect one from the preamp to the PS audio. These cables are so stiff they will stand up straight, giving it room below there to have analog signal cables. And so now we are ready to turn everything on. I just turned on the regenerator. Is this on? The dinner frips is on, as you can see. The blue sound is still on. Did I turn this off? Let's turn this one on. And let's turn on the Oppo. Here we go. Next thing is the preamp. There we go. That's on. Yes, volume is low. And turn on this one, which is always a little bit more tricky because this one is at the rear. Let me see. Can you see that? That's how you do that. Can we see them glowing? Yeah, there they go. Okay, so that's turned on. And then we can turn on over here. Yep, the rel is turned on. And then we turn on. There it goes. Sometimes the LED works, sometimes it doesn't, but I heard it starting up. So we have everything working. I'm going to give it some time to warm up. I'm going to listen if there's any hum audible, and then tomorrow, if everything works, I will change the preamp power cords going from there to the PS audio. There is still one spot open, so that is possible, but for now I don't hear any strange noises coming from the loudspeaker, so all the connections are probably okay. So let's see what gives, and I'll report back. Okay, so next day, what has changed? What have I been doing? Well, I cleaned up the mess a little bit, having the guests over there. I showed you yesterday what I was doing. The turntable went from there to there. that is where I actually want him. And one of the reasons I bought these two, well, these are nightstands actually. Main reason I bought those is because I needed more space, but also I could use these two tops for visiting small loudspeakers instead of going downstairs and picking up the official stands. That may sound lazy, and it is a little bit, but also you guys may have no idea how many times I go up and down with all this equipment. So having it all here, or most of it here, is very convenient. Anyways, another thing that I did yesterday was to listen to the set while the preamplifier had the short Furotech power cable, and I'm already getting a little bit more convinced by the Denafrips. It's still not there, I think because maybe my loudspeakers give such a wide soundstage, and that is what the Denafrips also maybe exaggerated a little bit. It becomes wide and placements, well, I may have to change the loudspeaker position again in order to bring back a little better placement. Things are a bit too fuzzy now. It sounds wonderful, but well, that's for a later video. Anyways, what I did this morning is to connect this big Oyaide cable to the preamp from the PS Audio regenerator. So today I'm going to listen again and see if anything changes. So that is the update for this morning. Okay, this video is getting way too long, so let's finish her up. I have told you about all the changes that I made in all the cable management, and I'm very happy with that. The reason this all started was because of the Denafrips, a new visitor that didn't sound like I wanted to in the system, and I'm still not really convinced. So maybe the Denafrips is not going to stay in the system, but that will be for a later video. As you can see, there are also some other changes. Maybe you already noticed that the Audiolab set is not here anymore. That is because the Audiolab set is with Miss Barista. She is enjoying it, and here's a picture of how it is in her system, in her home. And there's some other differences here. You now see the Audios over there, and because the Audiolab is at Miss Barista's, here has returned the Noicom setup. Now I already had this amplifier, not the CD player, and the other integrated amplifier, lower wattage than the one that I have here, and the tuner are also back. So I couldn't wait to reconnect this set. I still think it looks beautiful. I had been playing the Audios with the Riga set. This set I'm trying to sell. People are not wanting to buy, so it's still here. This was not a very good match. It sounded a little bit too flat. Connected to this setup, that is really a magical system, so I'm very happy with that. And as I told you, these are guests, so they go in that power socket, and I did not have to change anything that is for the preamp power amp, because that one is still available and the preamp is still in the regenerator. So this is where I'm signing off. I'm having a lot of fun playing this setup and playing this setup. I'm going to put back the, where are you? There are you. So the PS Audio DAC is going back into the system probably somewhere this weekend, and maybe I will try the Denafrips on this setup, maybe just integrated, not tubes, and a normal loudspeaker, a box loudspeaker, instead of a broadband, different kind of loudspeaker. Maybe that is a better match for the Denafrips. At least that's what I'm hoping, because everybody is raving about the Denafrips, and well, I'm not, or not yet, or whatever. That's the next thing that I'm going to do, but that is for another video. I hope you liked this video. If you did, if you stayed with me the whole video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure that you subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one.